Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant, watching the alien ships move closer through the big front window. The black space around them was filled with stars, but now it also had 3 large crystal-like ships that looked like they were made of dark glass. These ships belonged to the Zilani people who had been in space for thousands of years before humans even learned how to fly. Jake had been captain of this ship for 2 years now, and he knew every sound it made and every light on every control panel. The USS Valiant was not just any ship. It was one of the newest and strongest ships that Earth had ever built. Most people in the galaxy did not know this because humans tried to keep their best ships hidden from other species who might want to study them or destroy them. The Zilani ships moved in a perfect line, like they had practiced this many times before. Their hulls were smooth and shiny and seemed to change color as they moved. Jake had seen these ships before during meetings between humans and aliens, but never this close to Earth space. Today was different, and Jake could feel that something was about to happen that would change everything. Communications Officer Lisa Carter sat at her station with her hands moving quickly over the controls. She had brown hair tied back and wore the blue uniform that all humans wore on military ships. Lisa had been working on communication systems for 5 years and could speak with almost any alien species through the translation computers. "Captain, we are getting a message from the lead Zilani ship," Lisa said without looking away from her screen. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the worry in it. The Zilani did not usually contact human ships unless they wanted something important. "Put it on the main screen, Lisa," Jake said as he sat down in his captain chair. The big screen at the front of the bridge changed from showing the stars to showing the inside of the alien ship. The alien who appeared on screen had silver skin that seemed to move like liquid mercury and eyes that were completely black with no white parts at all. This was Commander Zektar, and Jake had met him before during diplomatic meetings on the space station near Jupiter. Zektar was known for thinking that humans were still babies compared to the Zilani, and that humans should follow Zilani rules when traveling through space. "Human vessel, you will stop your engines and prepare to be inspected," Zektar said through the translation system. His voice sounded like metal being scraped against stone. "This is required by galactic maritime law, and you must comply immediately." Jake looked over at his first officer, Commander Ryan Scott, who was standing near the weapons control station. Ryan had red hair and green eyes and had been Jake's friend since they went to the Space Academy together. Ryan's job was to make sure the ship was ready to fight if needed, but also to give advice to the captain about important decisions. "The USS Valiant is traveling through neutral space, Commander Zektar," Jake replied, trying to keep his voice friendly but firm. "We have done nothing wrong and have no obligation to submit to your inspection." Behind Zektar on the alien ship, Jake could see other Zilani crew members working at their stations. Their technology was clearly very advanced, with holographic displays that floated in the air and control systems that responded to hand movements instead of physical buttons. The Zilani were proud of their technology and often reminded other species that they had been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. Jake knew that the Zilani had weapons that could destroy entire planets and scanning equipment that could see through solid metal as if it were made of clear glass. Their ships could also become invisible to most sensors and could travel faster than human ships. This made them very dangerous enemies, but also valuable allies if humans could earn their respect. Chief Science Officer Dr. Amy Rodriguez moved closer to Jake's chair and spoke quietly so that Zektar could not hear her through the communication system. Amy had black hair and wore glasses and had studied alien technology for her entire career. She knew more about Zilani science than almost any other human. "Captain, their scanning technology is incredibly advanced," Amy whispered. "If they perform a deep scan of our ship, they will discover things that we do not want them to know about." Jake nodded because he understood what Amy meant. The USS Valiant looked like a normal human warship from the outside, but inside it had experimental technology that made it one of the most powerful ships ever built by any species. This technology was so secret that only a few humans knew it existed, and Earth's government wanted to keep it that way until humans were ready to reveal their true capabilities. The alien commander's expression changed and became more threatening. "Your species continues to show that you do not understand how things work in this galaxy," Zektar said. "You are new to space travel and must learn to follow the rules that have existed for thousands of years. You will comply with inspection or face the consequences." Jake could see that Zektar was becoming angry, and this worried him. The Zilani had enough firepower to destroy the USS Valiant in seconds if they decided to attack. But Jake also knew that backing down would make humans look weak, and might cause problems for other human ships traveling through this part of space. "Commander, we are operating legally in neutral territory," Jake said again. "We request that you respect our right to free passage." The screen showing Zektar flickered slightly, as the communication systems on both ships worked to maintain the connection across the distance between them. Jake could see other Zilani officers moving around behind their commander, and he wondered what they were planning to do next. Lisa Carter suddenly turned around in her chair with a worried look on her face. "Captain, I am detecting that they are charging their scanning array," she said. "It looks like they are preparing to scan our ship whether we give permission or not." Jake felt his heart beat faster because he knew that if the Zilani scanned the USS Valiant with their most powerful equipment, they would discover technology that would shock them and change the balance of power in the entire galaxy forever. Commander Zektar turned away from the communication screen and walked to the scanning station on his ship. The bridge of the Zilani vessel was filled with blue light that came from crystal panels in the walls and ceiling. Everything was made of smooth materials that seemed to glow from within, and the air smelled like ozone and metal. Science Officer Velthar began the deep scan immediately. Zektar commanded as he stood behind the scanning station. Velthar was younger than most of the crew and had pale silver skin that was almost white. His job was to operate the most advanced scanning equipment that the Zilani had ever built. "Yes, Commander, scanning now," Velthar replied as his long fingers moved over controls that looked like floating crystals. The scanning array was the pride of Zilani technology and could analyze any object down to the molecular level from a distance of several million kilometers. It had never failed to reveal every secret of any ship or structure they had ever examined. The scanning beam shot out from the Zilani ship as a thin line of bright green light that was invisible to human eyes but could penetrate through any known material. Velthar watched his displays as information began flowing back from the human vessel. At first, everything looked exactly as he had expected it to look. "Initial scan complete, Commander," Velthar reported with confidence in his voice. "The human ship appears to be constructed with basic steel alloys and titanium reinforcement. I am detecting standard fusion reactors for power and chemical rocket engines for backup propulsion. Nothing unusual for their primitive technological level." Zektar smiled because this was exactly what he had expected to find. Humans had only been traveling in space for about 50 years, while the Zilani had been building starships for 10,000 years. The idea that humans could have anything that would surprise him was ridiculous, and he was looking forward to showing them how much more advanced Zilani technology was. "Continue the scan, Velthar," Zektar ordered. "I want to see everything about their weapon systems and defensive capabilities. When we are finished scanning, we will have complete technical specifications that we can use to build countermeasures against all human ships." But as the scanning beam went deeper into the human ship, Velthar began to notice things that did not make sense. His displays were showing energy readings that were much higher than they should be for a ship of this size and age. There were also sections of the ship that seemed to be blocked by materials that the scanner could not identify. "Commander, I am detecting some unusual energy signatures in the core sections of the vessel," Velthar said with less confidence than before. His silver skin was beginning to show darker patches, which happened when Zilani became nervous or confused. "Explain what you mean by unusual," Zektar demanded as he moved closer to look at the scanning displays himself. The screen showed a three-dimensional image of the human ship, with different colors representing different types of materials and energy sources. "The power readings are much higher than expected, Commander," Velthar continued. "A human fusion reactor should produce about 12 terawatts of power, but I'm reading energy levels that are at least 50 times higher than that. Also, there are compartments that appear to be shielded with materials that do not match anything in our database." Zektar studied the displays with growing confusion. The human ship looked normal from the outside, but the scanning data was showing something completely different. The energy core was producing power levels that were higher than some Zilani battle stations, and the distribution networks were more complex than anything he had ever seen. "That is impossible," Zektar said, but his voice was not as confident as it had been before. "Humans do not have technology that advanced. There must be an error in the scanning equipment." Velthar ran diagnostic checks on all the scanning systems, but everything was working perfectly. All systems are functioning normally, Commander. The readings are accurate. As the scan continued to penetrate deeper into the human vessel, more surprising information began to appear on the displays. The weapon systems were not showing up as the expected projectile cannons or basic energy weapons that human ships usually carried. Instead, the scanner was detecting something completely different that operated on principles that Velthar had never seen before. Commander, the weapons array is not conventional, Velthar reported with a trembling voice. I cannot identify the technology being used. It appears to be some form of gravitational manipulation system, but that should be impossible for humans to develop. Zektar felt a cold feeling in his stomach as he realized that something was very wrong. The Zilani had been monitoring human technological development for decades, and they knew exactly what humans were capable of building. This ship should not have technology that the Zilani could not understand. Show me the defensive systems. Zektar ordered, hoping that at least those would be normal. Velthar adjusted the scanning parameters to focus on the ship's defensive capabilities, and what he found made him step back from his station in shock. Commander, the defensive matrix is unlike anything in our records. It appears to be generating some form of space-time distortion field that would make conventional weapons completely ineffective. At that moment, another Zilani officer at the tactical station called out urgently, Commander, I am detecting multiple contacts throughout the sector. They are appearing on sensors now. The main tactical display suddenly filled with green dots representing human ships that had been completely invisible to Zilani sensors until that moment. Dozens of vessels appeared as if they had materialized out of empty space surrounding the entire Zilani fleet. How is this possible? Zektar demanded. Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy, and nothing can hide from our detection systems. The tactical officer was working frantically at his station, trying to get more information about the newly appeared human ships. Commander, these vessels were not there 30 seconds ago. They either traveled here faster than our sensors could track, or they were hidden using technology that we cannot detect. Velthar was still staring at his scanning displays in disbelief. Commander, according to these readings, the single human vessel we scanned has enough firepower to destroy our entire fleet. And now there are dozens more ships just like it. Zektar realized that the simple scanning operation he had ordered was revealing information that changed everything he thought he knew about human capabilities. The scan that was supposed to show Zilani superiority was instead showing that humans had technology that was far more advanced than anything the Zilani possessed. Stop the scan immediately, Zektar ordered, but he knew it was already too late. They had seen too much, and now they would have to face the consequences of discovering that the species they had treated as primitives was actually the most technologically advanced civilization in the galaxy. The main screen on the USS Valiant flickered and changed to show a new face that made Captain Jake Morrison sit up straighter in his chair. Admiral Patricia Kane appeared on the screen with her gray hair pulled back and wearing the gold uniform that showed her high rank in the human fleet. Her face had lines that came from many years of making difficult decisions, and her eyes were the kind that missed nothing important. Admiral Kane was broadcasting from the USS Independence, which was the largest and most powerful ship in the human fleet. The Independence had been hidden along with 20 other human vessels using technology that made them completely invisible to alien sensors. Now all of these ships had dropped their stealth fields and were surrounding the Zilani fleet like a net. Commander Zektar, I believe your people have been conducting unauthorized scans of our vessel, Admiral Kane said in a voice that was calm but carried the weight of authority. Behind her on the Independence's bridge, other human officers could be seen working at stations that looked much more advanced than what most aliens had ever seen on human ships on the Zilani command vessel. Commander Zektar was staring at tactical displays that showed he was now completely surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. His silver skin had turned almost white, and his black eyes were wide with shock and fear. The Zilani prided themselves on having the best sensor technology in the galaxy, but somehow an entire human fleet had been sitting right next to them without being detected. Admiral Kane, your fleet was not visible on our sensors, Zektar managed to say, though his voice was shaking. How is this possible when our detection systems are the most advanced technology that exists? Admiral Kane smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. The same way your advanced scans just revealed technology that you cannot understand, Commander. You see, the Zilani Confederation has made a very serious error in judgment about human capabilities. Dr. Amy Rodriguez stepped forward on the bridge of the USS Valiant so that she could be seen on the communication screen. She was holding a datapad that showed the results of what the Zilani scan had discovered about human technology. The information on that pad would change how every species in the galaxy thought about humans. Commander Zektar, your scans have just revealed classified information about human military technology, Dr. Rodriguez said. Information that shows you have greatly underestimated what our species is capable of achieving. The truth that the Zilani had discovered was more shocking than anything they could have imagined. While they had been assuming that humans were still primitive newcomers to space travel, Earth's military had been developing technology in secret that was hundreds of years ahead of anything else in the galaxy. The quantum displacement drives that allowed ships to become completely invisible were just the beginning. This cannot be possible, Science Officer Velthar said from his station on the Zilani ship. Your species has only been traveling in space for a few decades. We have been monitoring your development, and you should not have technology like this. Captain Morrison stepped closer to the communication screen so that Zektar could see him clearly. You have been monitoring what we wanted you to monitor, Commander. While you were watching our civilian space program and our commercial transport vessels, our military research divisions were making discoveries that leapfrogged your technology by centuries. The human ships that now surrounded the Zilani fleet were not just invisible to sensors. They were also equipped with weapon systems that used principles of physics that most species had only dreamed about. Gravitational pulse cannons that could collapse matter at the atomic level and defensive shields that could bend space and time, itself to protect the ships inside them. Lieutenant Commander Gary Phillips, who was the weapons officer on the USS Valiant, brought up a holographic display that showed the technical specifications of human weapons systems. The display floated in the air above his station and showed energy readings that made the Zilani scanning equipment look like children's toys. Every ship in our fleet is equipped with gravitational manipulation technology, Phillips explained. Our weapons can create controlled black holes or generate gravity waves that can tear apart enemy vessels. Our defensive systems can create space-time distortions that make incoming attacks pass through empty space, instead of hitting our ships. Velthar was studying the scan results on his own displays, and what he saw made him feel sick. According to the readings from their most advanced scanning equipment, a single human vessel had enough firepower to destroy the entire Zilani home fleet. The energy signatures from the human weapons were unlike anything that had ever been recorded in the history of galactic civilization. Sir, according to these readings, the humans could destroy our entire star system with just one of their ships, Velthar reported to Zektar in a whisper, but the revelations about human technology were not finished. Communications Officer Lisa Carter opened new channels that showed energy readings from across human space. What the displays revealed was that the experimental technology on the USS Valiant was not experimental at all. It was standard equipment that was installed on every ship in the human fleet, from the smallest scout vessels to the largest battleships. Admiral Kane leaned forward and her expression became even more serious. Commander, what your scan has revealed is just the beginning. Look at the temporal displacement readings in our engine signatures. Zektar's eyes became even wider as he studied the new data that his science officer was showing him. The energy pattern suggested that human ships were not just operating with advanced technology. They were using systems that allowed them to manipulate time itself and exist partially outside of normal space-time. That is correct, Commander, Admiral Kane confirmed. While your people have been treating us as primitive children, we have been developing technology that allows us to operate outside the normal rules of physics. Your 1,000-year technological advantage means nothing when we can accelerate our learning and development to rates that you cannot match. The scanning operation that was supposed to demonstrate Zilani superiority had instead revealed that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted completely. Humanity was no longer the weak newcomer species that needed to follow rules made by older civilizations. They had become the most technologically advanced species that had ever existed, and they had done it in secret while everyone else was looking the other way. Commander Zektar's silver skin had turned almost completely pale, as the full weight of what his scanning operation had revealed began to sink into his mind. The bridge of his ship, which had always felt like the center of technological superiority, now seemed small and primitive, compared to what he was seeing on the human vessels. His crew members were looking at their displays with expressions of shock and disbelief. "Admiral Kane, perhaps we have made some errors in our understanding of the current situation," Zektar said carefully as he tried to find words that would not make things worse. His voice was quiet and respectful, which was very different from how he had been speaking when he first demanded to inspect the human ship, "Admiral." Kane's expression remained cold and serious as she looked at the Zalani commander through the communication screen. Behind her on the Independence, other human officers were working at control stations that showed holographic displays floating in the air. The technology visible on the human bridge was clearly more advanced than anything the Zalani had ever seen. "Commander, for 3 years, your people have treated humanity like children who do not understand how the galaxy works," Admiral Kane said. "You have demanded tribute for passage through space that you claimed belonged to the Zalani. You have restricted our trade routes and imposed rules on us as if we were subjects in your empire, rather than equals." On the Independence's bridge, Strategic Operations Officer Colonel Steve Martinez was coordinating with other ships in the human fleet. Each vessel was maintaining weapons locks on multiple Zalani targets, and the precision of their targeting systems was far beyond what Zalani computers could achieve. The human ships moved with perfect coordination as if they were all controlled by a single mind. Scan that your science officer just completed has revealed the true capabilities of what you consider to be just a patrol vessel. Dr. Rodriguez continued from her position on the USS Valiant. "The USS Valiant is not even one of our most powerful ships. It is a standard battleship that represents the basic level of technology in our current fleet." Captain Morrison activated a new holographic display that showed technical specifications in detail that made the Zalani scanning equipment look primitive. The display showed energy readings and weapon capabilities that were so advanced they seemed like magic to anyone who did not understand the science behind them. "Your people have always prided yourselves on scientific advancement, so let me explain exactly what your scan discovered," Morrison said as he pointed to different parts of the holographic display. "Our quantum displacement drive does not just provide stealth capabilities. It allows our ships to exist in multiple dimensions at the same time, making us effectively impossible to hit when the system is activated." The display showed power generation systems that produced energy levels far beyond anything that existed in Zalani technology. "Our antimatter containment reactors generate more power than your largest space stations. The energy output from a single human battleship exceeds the total power production of most planetary civilizations." Science Officer Velthar was running calculations at his station, and what he found made him feel dizzy. "Commander, if these readings are accurate, the humans could destroy our entire home star system with just one vessel. Their weapons could destabilize the gravity well of our sun and cause it to collapse into a black hole. But the revelations about human capabilities were far from over." Communications Officer Lisa Carter opened new channels that showed readings from across human-controlled space. What appeared on the displays was evidence that the technology they had discovered was not experimental or limited to special ships. "What you are seeing here is not prototype equipment, Commander," Carter explained as data flowed across the screens. "Every ship in the human fleet, from our smallest reconnaissance vessels to our largest dreadnought battleships, carries these systems as standard equipment. We have been mass-producing technology that surpasses your most advanced experimental designs." Admiral Kane leaned forward in her command chair, and her expression became even more serious. "Commander, there is something else that your scan revealed. Look carefully at the temporal displacement readings in our engine signatures." Zektar studied the new data that appeared on his screens, and what he saw made his breath catch in his throat. The energy patterns were unlike anything that had ever been recorded in the history of galactic civilization. They suggested that human ships were not just operating with advanced technology, but were using systems that manipulated the flow of time itself. "That is correct, Commander," Admiral Kane confirmed as she saw the understanding dawn in his eyes. "While you have been treating us as primitive newcomers, we have been developing technology that allows us to operate outside normal space-time constraints. We can accelerate research and development at rates that make your 1,000-year technological head start meaningless." Chief Engineer Nicole Parker appeared on screen from the engine room of the USS Valiant, where massive machines hummed with power that defied comprehension. Behind her were containment units that held antimatter in magnetic bottles and quantum processors that could calculate the movement of every atom in a solar system. Every challenge we have encountered has pushed us to develop better solutions, Parker explained as she gestured to the advanced equipment around her. When we met species with energy weapons, we created quantum shielding that makes our ships immune to energy attacks. When we found faster vessels, we developed displacement drives that allow us to travel through folded space. When we discovered we were outgunned, we learned to manipulate gravity and time itself. The scope of human technological development was becoming clear, and it was far more extensive than the Zilani had ever imagined possible. Humanity had not just caught up to galactic civilization. They had surpassed every other species by margins that seemed impossible. Lieutenant Commander Phillips brought up tactical displays that showed the defensive capabilities of the human fleet. Our ships can create artificial gravity wells that pull enemy vessels out of their flight paths. We can generate time dilation fields that slow down incoming projectiles until they stop moving completely. We can even create pocket dimensions where we can hide entire fleets until they are needed. The scanning operation that was meant to demonstrate Zilani superiority had instead revealed that humanity had become the most powerful force in the known galaxy, and they had achieved this advancement while keeping it completely secret from every other civilization that existed. The silence that followed Admiral Kane's final revelation stretched across space like a physical force that could be felt on both the human and Zilani ships. Commander Zektar sat in his command chair staring at displays that showed technical readings he could barely comprehend. His entire understanding of galactic civilization had been shattered in the span of a few minutes by a simple, scanning operation that had revealed far more than he ever wanted to know. The Zilani fleet, that had approached with such confidence and arrogance, now found themselves surrounded by human vessels that possessed technology beyond their wildest imagination. Every weapon system on the Zilani ships was useless against enemies who could manipulate time and space itself. Every defensive measure they had developed over thousands of years was meaningless against weapons that could create black holes and bend reality. Admiral Kane. Zektar finally spoke, and his voice was barely louder than a whisper. The Zilani Confederation has acted based on information that was clearly incomplete and incorrect. We have made assumptions about human capabilities that were completely wrong. Admiral Kane studied the alien commander for a long moment before responding. Her expression softened slightly, but her voice remained firm and authoritative. That is a very diplomatic way of admitting that your people have been treating us as inferior beings, Commander. The question now is what we do with this new understanding of the situation. Captain Morrison stepped forward on the bridge of the USS Valiant, and his expression was serious, but not threatening. Commander Zektar, humanity has never sought to dominate other species or become the ruling power in this galaxy. We did not develop this technology because we wanted to conquer anyone. We developed it because we refused to remain weak and vulnerable. On the Zilani science vessel, Dr. Kethra, who was their most experienced researcher in alien technology, was analyzing the scan data with hands that shook from excitement and fear. What she was seeing challenged everything that the Zilani had believed about technological development and the natural order of galactic civilization. Zektar, these readings indicate that human technology is not just advanced beyond our understanding. Dr. Kethra reported with amazement in her voice. Their ships appear to be incorporating improvements and modifications in real time through some form of adaptive artificial intelligence systems that learn and evolve continuously. The truth about human development was even more remarkable than what the Zilani had discovered through their scanning. Humanity's greatest strength was not just their technology, but their approach to learning and growth. While other species, including the Zilani, had become satisfied with their achievements and stopped pushing the boundaries of what was possible, humans had maintained their drive to improve and innovate. Every challenge we have faced has made us stronger and more capable, explained Chief Engineer Nicole Parker as she appeared on communication screens throughout both fleets. When we encountered energy weapons, we developed quantum shielding that made us immune to energy attacks. When we met faster ships, we created displacement drives that allowed us to travel through folded space-time. When we found ourselves outgunned, we learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that hold the universe together. Admiral Kane addressed both the human and Zilani fleets as she prepared to make an announcement that would change the future of galactic civilization. The scan that you conducted, Commander Zektar, was intended to demonstrate Zilani technological superiority and show humans their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. Instead, it has revealed that the balance of power has shifted dramatically and permanently. But what Admiral Kane said next surprised everyone who was listening, including many of the human crew members. However, we are not interested in replacing the Zilani as the dominant force in this galaxy. We are not interested in forcing other species to follow human rules or pay tribute to human authorities. We propose something completely different. Lieutenant Commander Phillips brought up new displays that showed collaborative technology designs and joint research projects that could benefit every spacefaring species in the galaxy. The plan showed medical advances that could extend lifespans across all known species, terraforming technology that could create habitable worlds for different types of life, and defensive systems that could protect entire civilizations from cosmic threats. Our scientists and engineers have been working on applications that could help everyone, Phillips explained as the technical specifications appeared on screens throughout both fleets. We have developed medical technology that can cure diseases that affect multiple species. We have created terraforming systems that can make dead planets suitable for any form of life. We have designed defensive networks that could protect entire star systems from natural disasters. Commander Zektar studied the proposals that were being transmitted to his ship, and what he saw filled him with amazement. The humans were not offering to share just some of their technology. They were proposing joint development projects that would advance every species in the galaxy to levels that had never been imagined before. But why would you do this? Zektar asked with genuine confusion in his voice. You have demonstrated clear technological superiority over every other known civilization. You could demand submission from all of us and there would be nothing we could do to stop you. Why offer partnership instead of demanding surrender? Captain Morrison smiled for the first time since the confrontation had begun. Because that is not who we are as a species, Commander. Humanity's greatest discovery was not antimatter containment, or gravitational manipulation, or temporal displacement technology. Our greatest discovery was learning that our true strength comes from working together with others, rather than standing alone and isolated. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward to conclude the transmission with readings that showed the true scope of human achievements across all fields of knowledge. Your scan revealed our military technology, Commander, but it only touched the surface of what we have accomplished in medicine engineering, agriculture, energy production, and dozens of other areas of science. We are offering to share all of it with every species that is willing to work with us as equals. As the Zilani fleet slowly began to power down their weapon systems, Commander Zektar realized that his people's advanced scan had indeed revealed something they wished they had never discovered. Not because of humanity's terrifying military power, but because it had shown them their own lost potential for growth, cooperation, and mutual advancement. Admiral Kane, Zektar said as he made the decision that would reshape the future of his entire civilization. The Zilani Confederation would be honored to discuss this partnership proposal. It appears that we have much to learn from each other and even more to accomplish together. The scan that was meant to demonstrate human weakness had instead revealed the strength that would transform the galaxy itself.